Hello, I'd like to welcome you again to another edition of Leading Edge. Today I'm going to start a new series on managing transitions. And I think this is a very important subject to consider, especially at a time like this. A lot of us are struggling with transiting our life from one point to the other. And this is mostly how life in itself is. In fact, life is organized around times and seasons, right? In some sense, life follows two loops in no standard order. It follows day and night, dry season and raining season. In some climes, you call it winter and summer, good days and obviously bad ones. So we have these two loops. Things get better and better, then come some bumps along the way. Then things peak, and then things fall apart. Sometimes it's a long curve. At some other times, it's a short one. What does this teach us? Nothing exactly lasts forever. Conditions change. So we experience this in our personal relationships, our health, our careers, in so many areas of our lives. Transitions are normal in life. You need to take note of that. Right now, you may either be entering into a transition in your life, or you are in one already, or you are about coming out of one. So wherever you are, there is a relationship you have with transition one way or the other. All right. Let me start by breaking down two things. Now, there's a difference between change and transition. Now, listen to this. Transitions sometimes differ from change, mainly in terms of timing. Change can be swift, but note, always, transitions are a slow process. It may be triggered by a sudden change initially, but its outworking can be really slow. Let me give you an example. To come into the office on a Monday morning and find that there has been a reorganization in your company, all right? And you have been impacted. Listen to this, that's a change. The circumstances of your life just suddenly changed. But then, to move from that point to the next point of finding yourself, of reinventing yourself at a whole new level, that can be a long and difficult process. That's what is called transition. So in a change situation, people have really no choice. They have no say, as it were. But transition is a choice. You can choose to move or you can choose to be stuck. You can choose what path you follow or what path you don't. So change is more external. So we see change happen. We see it. So you're impacted, you've lost your job. So everybody knows. But transition is mostly internal. It is what goes on the inside that transition captures. So let me begin by sharing with you what is called the stages of transition. Obviously, transition experience or process has stages. Now, organizational consultant William Bridges formulated the 3 stages of transition, what came to be known as Bridges transition model. Now, this model captures the feelings people experience when they go through a transition. Now, for the leader, if you understand this model, it will not only help you navigate your own transition experience, but it will also help you support your people through the process when changes occur around them. Meaning this, that supporting people through transition is the key to a successful change management. All right? So here are the 3 stages of Bridges transition model. Now they are ending, losing, and letting go. That's stage 1. Right? Stage 2 is the neutral zone. Stage 3 is what Bridges call the new beginning. Now, each person in transition goes through this process at their own speed. Those who are more receptive to change will go through all 3 stages very quickly, while the others who are most set in their ways will, of course, take a longer time to go through the first 2 stages. All right? So let's walk through these stages with more detail. Right? Stage 1, of course, I said, is ending, losing, and letting go. People typically respond to change in their lives with an emotional reaction. Now, leaders who understand this about their people will be more prepared with the right level of empathy and acceptance. So people in a change situation may feel afraid, get angry, feel sad, enter denial, get frustrated, feel disoriented. Sometimes they feel confused and anxious. They undergo a sense of loss. Now, it takes a great deal of patience to handle all of these feelings. It's good to be open about these feelings. So if you are going through a transition and you are feeling this way, be open. All right? When you open, it enables a leader somewhere or a support structure around you to share perspectives and clarity with you. The goal here is to bring the person to the place of letting go. Right? This is what readies you for the next phase. And that next phase is stage 2, the neutral zone. So at the neutral zone, you have hopefully let go. Okay? Though not yet entirely comfortable with the situation. At least you understand that the situation, the change is inevitable. Like we say, it is what it is. Right. This is the zone of learning and relearning in your new reality. The learning curve here is a stressful one, and you are not yet at home with a new way of working, with a new way of relating, whatever it is. So you look back and may, in some sense, begin to miss what used to be. You miss the onions and garlics of Egypt, if you know what I mean. You feel the old way was better. At this stage, you still show that you resent the change. Morale is low, productivity may even suffer. You feel anxious and unsure about your new role and your identity within the organization. Now, this creates some measure of frustration for the leader. The leader may not be getting the level of cooperation and results that he should get. Right? So for a leader, you need to persist. Keep your change vision firmly in mind and give people who are feeling lost a sense of direction. I'd like to also encourage, celebrate any little progress with your team. Let them feel that something positive is happening. Let them see that the change is beginning to bring about the desired results. Okay, so we move to stage 3. Stage 3 is what Bridges called the new beginning. So at this stage, things start falling into place. Now, have you ever been in a place where there was a long stretch of turbulence and then suddenly calmness begins to settle in? This is what the new beginning represents. Results suddenly begin to show. Things are turning out really better than before. The efforts of the past begin to pay off generously. It's all beginning to make sense. The defining emotions at this stage become more positive. You feel energized, you want to learn more, and you feel more committed to your role. Now, this is what the new beginning represents. So those are the 3 stages of transition, according to William Bridges. Now, I want to more specifically zero in on the dynamics of transition. Okay? Let me walk you through this. In a sense, I want to talk to you about the nature of transition. Now, because once you understand this, you are better enabled to go through transition quicker and more successfully. Okay, so I'll walk you through 5 of them that I've identified. Number 1, transition is movement without movement. Now, what does that mean? Because transition is mostly inward, people hardly see its progress, even when it's happening rapidly within you. Transition is like planting, though sometimes it may appear like a burial. Now, notice this. The acts of burial and planting, they look alike. However, the processes and outcomes differ completely. Now, when burial occurs, there is finality. All is lost. But with planting, the intent is rising. The intent is growth. The intent is increase. That's transition. It's mostly an inward movement, an inward growth. So while your space may contract, your inner being is expanding. It feels like you are dying, but you are actually rising. Okay? Now, every day we hear stories of people who found themselves only after losing something. Now, in the current global pandemic of losses, we have seen countless people who have found opportunities they never thought possible, and others who have simply recreated themselves. Sometimes it's when you feel you are stuck that you actually are getting strong. Note this, in a transition, there is often a misalignment between who you are and what you are, between how you look and who you really are. Your biggest weapon or tool when you are in a transition that feels like you are buried, it is perspective. So, have the perspective, the right perspective. Yeah. So, number 2, transition is a frozen time zone. What do I mean? Have you ever been in a period of heart-wrenching turbulence on air? Again, time seems to freeze. It feels like eternity. 4 minutes appear like 40. Now, I used to have a sister-in-law who used to pray this prayer. Lord, if you are trying to teach me a lesson, I have learnt it. Bring me out of this. It's enough. Now, this is a situation where someone thinks that transition is taking too long a time. You feel that, things should just come to an end and you get back to what you have always desired. All right? But can I tell you something? Time actually teaches you. Even though it appears that time is stretching, but that is a way of teaching you. With the passing of time, some of those your one-off coping strategy will suddenly turn to a routine. Then you begin to develop some discipline. You develop a habit. You develop proficiency that creates a better and a bigger version of you. Now notice again, time frees you. After a loss, time eventually helps you to let go. It frees you from your prior overdependence, as it were, on that thing which you lost. So over time, you begin to realize that you can actually survive without those things. The loss will remain a loss, but suddenly you find that there are other things to life. So people have lost job only to find their true purpose, to find a business, to start a movement. As I mentioned earlier, transitions can take longer depending on how you handle it, especially at the first 2 stages. So the longer you linger at mourning the loss, the longer the overall journey will become. It will stretch. So what do you do when transition appears as if time has been frozen? Your biggest weapon here to fight that sense of an unending time of transition is patience born out of experience. And what is that? Always remember, life is about seasons. When it's time, the season will switch. That's it. Right. So we'll go to number 3. Number 3 is this. Transition is a journey in between places. All right? It often feels like traveling to a place you have never been to before. Have you noticed that when you are going to a place you've never been to before, it appears that the journey is so long? Often I experience this. So the return journey, it appears the return journey is shorter. You know why? Because you now know the way. But at the time you're embarking on a transition journey, it looks as if it will just never end. Okay? It's like being caught in the midpoint of 2 places. You are neither here and you are not there. This is what fuels anxiety. Your career appears to be in a lacuna. You have followed all the rules in the career growth literature, yet there is no movement. You feel stuck in your business. Everything remains work in progress. And you are asking yourself, when will there ever be progress? Though you are growing, you don't seem to be arriving. People don't and can't understand you at this point. Remember Job's friends in the Bible. So they call you names. They try to explain you to you. Have you been there before? They speak based out of what they see now, your lava stage, as it were. They don't see what you can become and indeed what you are becoming. Transition alters you. You don't look like you used to. Neither do you look like you should before people. You are caught between spaces. Now, when you are caught in this kind of situation, what do? Let me suggest this. Your greatest weapon to fight the lacuna that transition creates is a strong sense of self-identity. Right. I know this because I've been through many transitions in my own life. Career, business, personal relationships. One of my greatest fallbacks has always been self-identity. I will encourage you to retain that strong sense of self-identity. Number four is transition is an invitation to grow. Now, let me recite this story for you that I read some time ago. The story says that a man found a cocoon for a butterfly. And one day, a small opening appeared in the cocoon. The man sat and watched the butterfly for several hours as he struggled to force his body through the little hole. Then he seemed to stop, making no progress. Now, the butterfly appeared stuck. So the man decided to help the butterfly. With a pair of scissors, he cut open the cocoon. The butterfly then emerged very easily. But something was strange. The butterfly had a swollen body and shriveled wings. The man watched the butterfly, expecting it to complete its formation. But nothing changed. The butterfly stayed the same. It was never able to fly. So what happened? In the kindness of the man, he had not realized that the butterfly's struggle to get through the small opening of the cocoon is nature's way of forcing fluid from the body of the butterfly into its wings so that it will be ready to fly. Now, transition may be painful, but can I tell you this? It's a gift. It's a gift for growth. In fact, I will call it the gift of growth. So transition is not just a situation or process that you go through. It is more importantly something you grow through. Some transitions just teach you some simple lessons in life. Others are huge and actually launch you into some big places in life. Whichever one, can I encourage you, don't shy away from transitions. So, we come to number 5. Transition recreates you. So, in the end, transitions provide you an opportunity for pivots. Sometimes you have to lose what you have to get what you truly need. As we earlier noted, we typically do not choose change. Change chooses us. Change is hoisted on us. But we can choose what we make of the change. Out of your loss can come something better and bigger. People have, out of their own pain and loss, built movements that are helping other people. There are countless grief to greatness stories out there. I want to say to you, let yours be the next. So transitions are invitations to significance, to greater relevance. It's a fresh start. It's a new beginning. Right. So that is the 5th dynamic of transition. So in closing, let me mention this to you. Each transition you go through anticipates the next one. Take note of that. If you are going through one now, embrace the process. Just remember, it will all end with a bigger and better version of you. But if you have just come to the end of a transition and you are now in a new place of power, in a better place of your dream, also remember, the next season of transition is coming. So be ready. It will be another invitation to a greater you, another invitation to a greater place in your life. So let me recap all of this. We have said there are 5 key dynamics, nature of transition, if you will. 1, transition is movement without movement. Number 2, transition is a frozen time zone. Number 3, transition is a journey in between places. And number 4, transition is an invitation to grow. And finally, we spoke about transition recreates you. So this brings us to the end of the session today. I'd like to invite you again to follow us on all our social media platforms. And if you want to be a part of the Joshua Leadership Project, why don't you go to www.joshualeadership.org/membership to join us. Thank you for listening again today. This has been Leading Edge.